Hey kids, this is Mr. Cozy and this is video 3. Today we are going to look at negative exponents in general, and then what do you do when you see negative exponents in fractions, and what do you do when you see negative exponents on fractions. So let's get started. Recall that a positive exponent tells you to multiply something with itself however many times you see in the exponent. Well, if a positive exponent tells you to multiply, then it only makes sense that a negative exponent would tell you to divide something with itself however many times you see in the exponent. Now, the end result of this division is that when you see something with a negative exponent in the numerator of a fraction, and remember that this is always a fraction because I can always put it over 1. When you see something with a negative exponent in the numerator of a fraction, it jumps to the denominator and the exponent becomes positive. This is a result of that division taking place, because a fraction, guys, when you see a fraction like 1/2, what that's really telling you is 1 divided by 2. A fraction is just another way of expressing division. So because negative exponents tell you to divide, what happens is whatever has that negative exponent jumps to the denominator of a fraction because it's being divided. Okay? That's the rule that you probably learned. The reason why it works is because negative exponents signify division. So if you see something like a to the 4th, b to the 6th, c to the negative 7th, whatever has that negative exponent is dividing everything else in that term, and so I put it in the denominator of the fraction. Okay? I only move the thing with the negative exponent because that's the only thing that's being divided. Now, if I have a whole group being raised to a negative power, then that whole group is being divided, and I should move that whole group. And then maybe work out anything happening inside of the group. Okay? Negative exponents signify division. Okay? And if you see negative exponents in the numerators of fractions, take whatever's there and move that thing to the denominator. Okay? Now, a big source of confusion here is when people see something like this. Okay? I have 2 to the negative 2nd times x to the 3rd times y. This negative has no impact on the base as far as if the base is positive or negative. Okay? That negative is on the exponent, and that negative is telling me to divide the 2. So I follow my rules and I write that 2 in the denominator. Okay? And when I move it, the exponent becomes positive, and then I can work out whatever this means later. But note that having a negative in the exponent has absolutely no impact on whether or not your result is positive or negative, because those are two different things. Okay, that's the first little piece of information that students screw up a lot. The second thing is, what if that negative exponent is already in the denominator? So let's look at something like actually, let's just do the 2. This 2 is in the denominator, so it is already being divided, but it has a negative exponent. So I'm dividing something that's already being divided. So how does that play out? Well, here's an analogy. I can subtract 4 from 5. 5 minus 4. But we all know that subtraction is just like adding a negative number. So just like you can think of fractions as another way of dividing, you can think of negative numbers as another way of subtracting. So this negative is in a sense telling me to subtract the 4, which means that if I'm ever in a situation where I'm subtracting a negative number, subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. Okay? Now, why did I just talk about all of that nonsense? Because in this situation up here, I'm dividing a number that's already being divided. And when, just like subtracting a negative gives you a positive, subtracting a negative is like adding. Dividing something that is being divided is like multiplying. So what happens is the thing in the denominator, the thing in the denominator with a negative exponent jumps to the numerator, and its exponent becomes positive. Okay, so this 2 to the negative 1 in the denominator becomes 2 to the first in the numerator. And then I can work this out however I want. Okay? The shortcut rule that you may have seen out of all of this reasoning and logic is that if you see a negative exponent, move the base to the quote-unquote other part of the fraction. So if it's in the numerator, move it to the denominator. If it's in the denominator, move it to the numerator. And if you don't see a fraction, make one by putting it over 1. And make the exponent positive. Okay? Now, one last thing and then I'll stop talking. What if you have an entire fraction that's being raised to a negative power? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can think about it, but remember, a negative exponent is like division. And how do you divide a fraction? You flip it and multiply. So this flip-flops, and the exponent becomes positive. Okay? Now this is a shortcut for just using your properties. A fraction raised to a power, I give everybody that same exponent. If it already has an exponent, I raise a power to a power, and then I work out the negative exponents that I have. Okay? Either way, I arrive at the same answer. Okay? All right, we'll stop here. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, and we will also talk about negative exponents. But in the meantime, we are done for today. Have a great day. Bye.